Beernet Radio. Listen to on every continent except Antarctica. Beernet Radio.
Yo, yo, yo.
Yo. What's happening?
Your mic works.
Yeah, man.
Look at you.
I just realized we're doing a podcast and I didn't set up my mic.
That's all right. You sound great.
Okay.
Jen, I'm you probably didn't set up your mic either.
No,
That's all right.
did not.
I'm coming to Austin, so I will come to your house and help you set it up.
He's just gonna bust down the door. Where is it? Throwing bags of dongles left and right.
Hey, listen, we are a company that is dongle rich, and I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed to say it. If anybody comes knocking on your door late at night and they don't have any dongles, you have dongles. You have dongles to give them.
I don't know what a dongle is, Harry.
A dongle is a nerd tech term for any kind of adapter.
Oh, okay.
So if you have a USB-C, but you need USB-A, oh my God, what do you do? Oh, a dongle.
There's a dongle for that.
There's a
Yeah.
There's a dongle for that. Apple has made sure that we need a steady flow of dongles. So Bianca Bruno, for everybody who's just tuned in, is our new correspondent, and she is based in San Diego, and she happens to come also from a legal reporting background over at Courthouse News, and we're glad to have her here. Hello, Bianca. Thanks for being on. This isn't your first time actually on Beernet Radio. You've been on as a real guest a couple of months ago.
Yes, I was a real guest.
Yeah, when you were working the Stone case. And
Yeah.
that's when we were like, she's a really good writer and she's good on the podcast. Glad you're here. But you were in the courtroom during this whole Bang Monster, which, by the way, is only one of like 3 lawsuits going on between the two of them. Like there's a new one that was just filed in Florida where it's basically, it sounds to me like Jack Owoc, the CEO of Bang, and the co-CEO of Monster, Rodney Sacks, really don't like each other. And they're taking out their mutual dislike in the United States court system. So tell us, do you have any color of the trial? How was Jack's demeanor?
How was Jack's demeanor? Well, he's quite the character. He didn't wear the chain. I was prepared for him to show up with the chain on in court, so I was a little disappointed.
I'm disappointed.
But like I said in my report last week, the navy blue suit he wore could not hide his true demeanor, which is
it was a bright
brash and covering court in the past. He reminded me of a lot of like criminal defendants I've seen before, or even people.
He looks like a criminal defendant. We're gonna
just not in how he looks, but the way he is so insistent on wanting to tell his story, right? The whole thing with Bang is the story of how they're what did they say, the blue ocean drink compared to the red ocean drink, which apparently is like a term used beyond just his periphery, which I did not know. But they're trying to differentiate themselves in the industry, which I think they have done. And then of course, there's like little bits and pieces of Monster coming back with Rain after introducing Rain after Bang's success, but that's not part of this case. And Jack did try to bring that up and was kind of shut down because that's not at issue here.
Yeah, different case, Jack. But but yeah, that they are. I think the problem they have is that they're tied to this because their initial whole deal was super creatine. Yeah. And am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Creatine.
Creatine. I think it's creatine. Some of the attorneys say creatine, but whatever.
Attorneys don't know, and but I don't know anything about creatine. This may surprise many of you, but I'm not a workout bro, but I think that was their initial thing. Hey, we have creatine in a shelf-stable canned drink, which scientists are like, that's impossible, and well, this is super creatine. It's different. And turns out it's a minuscule amount. And I think he's tied to that, but I think they've gone way beyond that. I don't think that's why people buy it anymore. It's for the weird flavors. And
well, Jack, you could be on his legal team then, Harry, because that's exactly like the position they're taking is like they have abandoned the focus on super creatine, which was their claim to fame or what set them apart when they initially hit the market. And so now they're saying, no, it's because we're colorful and we have butt models on our Instagram and we have lots of flavors and we come out with a new flavor every 90 days. But, at the end of the day, super creatine is still, at the top of the rim, smack in the middle. Right. And, what I think is really interesting, and we'll see, if I get to be there when there's a verdict and if anyone on the jury will be willing to talk to me, because they are allowed to talk about the case once it's over. But there's a juror who said during jury selection, and he ended up being selected on the jury, that he drank Bang because it had super creatine. So I want to know his take on everything after all this.
I bet Monster does too.
Yeah.
Of course, they can't tamper. They can't even come within 100 yards of that dude right now. But
wait, I have a couple questions for Bianca.
Yes.
So, first of all, Bianca, is that normal that they would let somebody like that on the jury? Like, it almost seems like he's inherently biased.
I mean, they have to. So the way it works is each Monster could have asked to have him removed. So I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but they, basically all the people come in. I think there were definitely over like 60 people. And so they'll put an initial group in the jury box and then they'll start questioning those people. And it's kind of a process of elimination. They'll start taking people out of there and then putting new people in. So each side has an opportunity to dismiss someone that they don't like. So Monster could have dismissed him and they chose not to.
Yeah.
All the jurors have to say, we will, remain open-minded. We won't decide the case before we have all the evidence and we're in the jury room. They cannot discuss the case with each other, like at lunch or anything until they have the case, which is when it's, case closed and they're deciding on what the verdict should be. So what's more interesting is that why would Monster want him to remain a juror?
Right.
They could have,
exactly.
Yeah, they could have removed him.
But it sounds like he might be a benefit to Monster in the end. I mean, the guy.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah, he knows.
Well, I've been watching him, and when Jack was on the stand last week on Thursday, I was kind of trying to watch the jurors, and a lot of them wouldn't even look at him.
Oh my Lord!
The sun shines too brightly.
They wouldn't look at him. I think he made them uncomfortable. And even at one point, and of course, there's so many details that can't end up in the story. So I could write another one if you want me to, based on stuff that didn't end up last week. But at one point, Jack was like, this is an important thing. You guys need to look at me. Like he was addressing the jury like he was from the pulpit, which is very odd. I don't think I've ever witnessed that before. Even Beer Jesus did not do that. So,
and are there cameras swarming outside the courthouse because he's making a documentary, right?
There was only one day I was there. There was just a camera crew with two guys, and they were there at the end of the day. I think they videoed Monster's legal team when they like walked down the steps from the courthouse, and then one of the attorneys I know was like, "You're with Jack, aren't you? You guys are making a documentary," and the camera guy was like, I can't confirm or deny that.
Wow.
It's been an interesting circus. I mean, they've gotten way more into like the science of super creatine. Like I was kind of shocked by just how much time they spent with that expert last week who like I didn't write about because it's not necessarily for our audience, but there's a colleague there who's from Law 360. We're the only two reporters who are covering it. And he covered the science guy a lot, but they spent basically almost 2 full days with a scientist, going over the fact that super creatine is not actual creatine. And I'm just like, I don't know how important that was for the jury. Like I kind of asked him, I'm like, why would they waste all this time on this guy? They could like prove their point within like a couple of hours. And then I kind of was like, the only reason maybe would be for the court record, right? So there's a court reporter who's making a transcript of the entire trial, and I think it's for the purposes of like an appeal. It's not necessarily to help the jury, which is, it's kind of an FU to the jury.
Yeah, they have to sit through this nerd talking about molecular creatine and and even if super creatine isn't the same as creatine, it seems, allegedly, we should say. Also, there's a minuscule amount of it anyway. I mean, it's like putting one drop, just to kind of give you a sense of the culture over there at Bang. And I think this is brilliant. One of the things that they did early on when TikTok came out, if you make any kind of promo with music in the background, you have to pay the artist a royalty.
Mm-hmm.
But if you incorporate it into TikTok, who's already paid the royalty, you can hire creators to use music with Bang in the ad. Now, that's against TikTok's rules. So I believe that Bang has been involved in a lawsuit with
TikTok.
Really? They've been using music in the background as a Bang video, but is against TikTok rules. But they're like, well, it's not a Bang ad. Bang is just in the ad. And it'd be a TikTok video set to like a Beatle or a Rolling Stones song, and the girl's coming out with a Bang cake, for her birthday, and they don't mention Bang, and it's not so this is how they're getting around. So they're sneaky that way, and you got to admire that, because to have a Rolling Stones song behind your ad would cost a couple $1 million, I would imagine. Yeah, way to go. Anyway, go ahead. So how did you feel the sense of when you left it, the trial was going? Let's just say you were a jury and you've been watching the jury. Do you sense of them leaning one way or the other?
I think there's, a pretty good case that the super creatine in Bang is not creatine and does not act like a workout supplement. I don't think it's going to be surprising if the jury finds that. I think what's more interesting is Bang is like abandoning it's kind of preemptively abandoning its stake or emphasis on super creatine. Like even at one point, Jack's attorney on Thursday asked him, if you had to abandon super creatine for the flavors, what would you do? Or for the colors, what would you do? And he's like, we don't need super creatine. It's all about the flavors. Right. Which is probably true if it generates like interest, if they're like, we have fans who are interested in what we're developing. The other reporter who I've talked to who's covering the trial, he told me one day he went and got a Bang because neither of us have drank it. I don't drink energy drinks. And he's like, yeah, I was really impressed by the flavor, actually. Like, he's like, it didn't taste like fake like aspartame or anything.
No, they are. I mean, they're good. I like Bang. You almost makes you wonder why they haven't already jettisoned super creatine from the packaging. They really don't talk about it. And trust me, I am a aficionado of Bang TikTok. I watch it, but it is true that they never talk about that, at least anymore.
But they did when the case was filed, right? Because the case was filed in 2018. So I think it was right around that time that they kind of ramped up their current marketing efforts.
And so what is the basis of the complaint? The Monster is complaining that it's false marketing to put super creatine on there.
So that's what's interesting about this. And I mean, obviously this is a common thing in like the beverage industry or any really business with competitors, right? Is they sue each other under consumer protection laws, which in my mind are supposed to be the tool of the government to protect us. Like Bang is not being chastised by the FDA. The FDA is not trying to shut them down and say, you can't put this super creatine, it doesn't do what you say, like you're making false claims, you need to correct this. Which is like very fascinating to me.
Yeah, I mean, but it could be 20 years before they get to it. They're probably backlogged, and I mean,
it's not a high priority because they have that that designation is generally recognized as safe. So that's come up a couple times. So there, because I think that is a requirement, obviously, to put like a supplement or something, is they have to have that recognition.
But I mean, getting graft certificate, I mean, that's easy, right? As long as it doesn't kill you or make it, make you have.
Well, you know that's easy, Harry, but you're not like a regular jury person from Riverside, California.
No, I get that they have. I get they have to explain that, but I mean, the issue here is not whether it's safe; it's whether it does. But I would suspect the government hadn't brought a case because it's a hard case to bring, because you have to say that they intentionally, and it seems to me like Bang is smart enough that they walked that edge. They never really, if you go back, they say creatine does this, but they never said super creatine at the time. They know how to massage this. It would be a messy case. And so it's just left to Monster to come up and try and get some action here, because money doesn't matter. And
getting back to kind of why would they abandon it like preemptively. I mean, I don't know that Stone did that in their case, but their attorneys kind of did it on the papers, right? Or not Stone's attorneys, Moss and Core's attorneys, right? They were already in the process of changing the cans of Keystone Light before the trial started. Right. Because they're like, if we lose, we need to like get ahead of it, for their own internal process, for however long it takes to, embark on a big rebranding campaign, as they like to say in the industry. Why don't they just call it a makeover? It's a makeover, right?
It's a makeover. It is a makeover. Sometimes we call it a refresh.
A refresh. Yeah, they said that during the case too. And I'm like, just call it a makeover.
So how far along are they on the trial? Are they like halfway through or 3/4 or?
Essentially, they're supposed to be about close to halfway through, but I don't know how close they're going to stick to their initial 4-week timeline. They're in trial Monday or Tuesday through Friday. Last week was the first week of witnesses. And they spent basically 2 days on a scientist, which to me, I don't know if I would do that.
I think you're right, though, Bianca. They're just getting that on the record so that way, when there's inevitably an appeal, they can just go back to that testimony and say, hey, there's the testimony. They don't have to do it all over again.
Yeah, that's what it is. But I know that for our purposes, we're hoping to get some of the Monster executives, but obviously Monster is not going to call people from their own team, so that'll be up to Bang to call, if they call,
especially
Rodney,
if they know we're there. Ayo.
Oh man, I can't wait for Rodney to take the stand, because Jack is going to heckle him
if he's there.
What do you expect from Bang's attorneys when Monster's up on the stand? You think it's just going to be like, why do you have it out for us? I mean, I don't know what kind of defense they can really draw up. And it seems like that's what they've kind of leaned on a bunch going back before this case with the Bang orange juice, and Monster supposedly kind of bankrolled that case and then turned it into this case. It seems like Bang's always like, well, it's Monster. They just have it out for us. Because like, as you pointed out earlier, this should be something that the feds get involved in. But Monster is the one saying, hey, look over here. Look what they're doing.
It's true. Monster does. I mean, clearly Bang came out of nowhere. They're not a part of it. They're independent. I mean, they do $2 billion in sales. It's an incredible story. This is not a small company, and it's one guy. How did he do it? Super creatine, maybe flavor. I'm sorry, you didn't ask me the question. You asked Bianca, but I'm going to answer it for you.
I think so. They'll ask Monster. Now, see, this gets into the weeds, right? Lawsuits are fascinating because, like, nothing should really truly be a surprise in trial, because prior to pre-trial, they go through what's called motions in limine, and it's like they have to like object to each other's evidence, and the judge can say this can come in, this can't come in, this can come in, this can't come in. So I know there's some I think ruling related to Rain, but I imagine that Bang is going to somehow ask questions about Monster's success with Rain, because I think they took share away from Bang after that came out. They took customers from Bang after that came out. So I think they'll try to get that point across. Obviously, like, you're not suffering from our product being on the market. Like, you have your own, you took our customers. And then the other thing is Bang. See, and this is like the flip-flopping that Bang is doing during the trial. They're like, we're the blue ocean. We brought new consumers to the energy market because of super creatine, because we had 0 calories, 0 grams of sugar, whatever else, whatever other health claims they have. We did it. We were the first, or the first, one to get big. And so if they have their own consumers, I don't know how then they can turn around and say, oh, but wait a minute, we started to recede once Monster came out with this other drink. So that's like a line they're going to have to toe.
And it's hard to tease out whether that's distributor disruptions during that time as well. I have noticed that some AB distributors have picked up Bang in the last couple of weeks. Listen, burn me once, shame on me. Burn me twice, shame on me again. But
Strike 3.
3 times, then what happens, Jordan? What happens 3 times?
Strike 3.
That's strike 3. Thank you. Thank you. God dang it. I busted my mic. Okay. All right. All right. Well, thank you being on, Bianca, and thanks everybody. And good pod. We'll shout at you next week.